Michelle with Got a Lot of Dance. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm here with Terri Haley. Hi, Terri.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. We're so excited to have her here because Terri's got a lot of experience as a dancer, but she's also a marriage and family therapist. And she's going to share with us some insights about competing in the dance world, as well as how that it all works out psychologically, right, Terri?
Yeah, sure.
So you were telling me earlier that there are a lot of similarities between psychotherapy and dancing. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, the similarities that I see is that when I'm working with people in private practice in psychotherapy, it's a one-on-one relationship and one-on-one connection, which is also very similar to partner dancing that we do in West Coast Swing. And trust is a huge component when you're dancing out on the dance floor with your partner, which it also is in psychotherapy. And also the body language, not verbally talking to one another, but the eye contact and picking up the signals and the communication from each other in a nonverbal way is very similar to the work in psychotherapy. And also the connection. Do you feel safe with the person? What's the flow of energy like? What's the chemistry like? So all of that is pretty similar as far as being emotionally present with
Sure.
with the person you're with, both on the floor and in psychotherapy.
So you have a program called the Sports Psychology that you've adapted to the West Coast Swing dance world. So tell me a little bit about that and how, where and when you present that.
Okay. Well, the program, my partner and I, Milena Escherick, who's a friend of mine and colleague, have written the program together and present together at different conventions throughout the state of California. And we offer it as a workshop style, just like the other workshops that are there. This one's more, though, psychological and a little bit more academic, although we do a lot of experiential exercises throughout the workshop. And the way that got started primarily was when I first went up from novice to intermediate. I was getting ready to do a pro-am with Miguel de Sousa. And I was just so excited and happy to be out of novice and up in intermediate and felt all cool being up there. And I just couldn't wait to get out on the dance floor for the pro-am with the other intermediate dancers. And I remember waiting in line and looking up ahead of me in line, and there was Jenny Statiawan and Mackenzie Goodmanson and Joanna Mayel and all these amazing women dancers who are now champion dancers. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I must be in the wrong line, or I must be in the wrong division. I told Miguel, I think we signed up for the wrong division. He goes, no, this is it. This is intermediate. And I said, but what about these girls? And he said, well, they're on their way out, Terri. They're almost advanced. And I remember just feeling really sick at my stomach and just very nervous and thinking I do not want to get out there on the floor with them, and almost backed out of the competition.
Wow.
So that led me into, at the same time, I'm working on my doctorate in psychology, and I was taking an elective course in sports psychology. And as I started reading and studying and taking some classes in sports psychology, I thought, wow, this is the material and techniques and principles I really need to use in my own life for myself out on the dance floor, social dancing, and also in competition.
Sure.
So from there, Milena and I were just talking, and we both had a lot in common with psychology and dancing, and decided to get together and do the program together.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, because I've taken it, and I really enjoy the way it worked for me. I mean, I thought, wow, I didn't know that, and you just had a lot of good examples and good techniques, and we'll be showing that later on. You'll see it here on the website. We're going to do just a little mini version of what you actually get when you go to a convention and see Terri. So it'll warm you up, but you'll want to see the program as you present it live, because there's interaction that you want to do. Terri asks questions, you get to work with the other dancers that are there.
Yes.
So we've got a mini preview for you, but make sure you do see it at the convention.
Thank you.
Another thing I want to kind of get to is more about your first dance experience. Tell us how you got started dancing.
Well, the first memory I have of dancing actually is just when I was a little girl. I remember my mother and father dancing in the living room together, probably like, a lot of people do. And my mother loved dancing. She was actually a professor at UC Davis of dance. and actually taught the UC Davis football players ballet
Wow.
there. And I remember in elementary school going into the dance studio there on campus and watching her teach modern dance and ballroom dance. And she actually worked with a gentleman named Jerry Curry, who was an amazing dancer and professor there also, that ended up becoming my ballet and jazz teacher. So from that experience there at the university, I started taking, here and there some ballet and jazz lessons. And then from there, kind of hit and miss off and on, dropped out for a while. And then when I was older, where I lived in Santa Rosa, there was this place called Monroe Hall.
Of course.
You've heard of Monroe Hall?
Absolutely.
Been to Monroe?
Yeah.
It had tons of cars there on Sunday evenings. And I was, I wonder what's going on down there. So checked it out and just loved it the first night I went in. It was kind of a smorgasbord of every kind of dancing. And I was pretty overwhelmed. I remember the first night I was there, all the different musics, all the different dances, and all the different styles. And I remember leaving that night thinking, I want to learn every one of these. And so from then on, I kind of took off and got a little bit more into the West Coast swing.
Yeah.
And then started.
So you do know other dances. What other dances do you know?
I'd say I know a tiny bit of most of them. A little bit of country, a little tango, a little salsa, nightclub, hustle.
So yeah, dabble.
Just
a
a dabble,
just
yeah.
to get
Enough
by.
to get me in trouble.
Yeah,
Is what
absolutely,
it is.
absolutely. Now here's another thing we were talking about earlier is. I've met your husband at some of the dance conventions, but he doesn't really come out that often.
Yeah.
So for people that are just kind of getting into dance, or they want to get into dance, and their spouse or their significant other isn't into dance, what kind of advice do you have for someone like that?
Well, that's a really big question. There's a lot to that question. Well, first, I guess I would say, my husband does dance some, and he's been extremely supportive of me dancing, and he's not a real controlling guy, pretty secure guy. So, he's felt good about letting me go. I will say though, I think we've communicated, we sit down and we talk about it, we communicate about it directly, and sometimes we will coordinate our calendars. If he's going off backpacking or kayaking or fishing, that might be the same weekend I'm going to a dance event. So we'll go our separate ways for a while and then come back and reconnect back at home. And then other times we'll just compromise. He will come with me to an event and, he tries it out. He doesn't love it like I do. And when he comes, I might end up going back up to the room a little early, or we may do some other things while we're there, hang out in the room and do things like that. And then on other times, I'll go backpacking in Yosemite with him. So we try to compromise in that way.
So it's for someone that's using that as an excuse not to dance. They're really passionate about dancing, but their significant other isn't. That shouldn't be an excuse, don't you think?
Absolutely not. I think if you love it and that's your passion and desire, I think it's actually healthy and good for the relationship that you each do your own individual things.
Absolutely.
And then you can come back together and share that with each other and enhance the relationship.